Human characters. The side salad you didn't ask for just comes with the meal. But because someone put some effort into making it, you go with it. But then you start to realize it's the weirdest, most nonsensical, badly written side salad ever. So all you can do is grab the waitress around her hips, pull her close and hiss in her face, thank God Transformers 1 ain't got no humans. So now we finally have a movie without humans. And word is the best Transformers movie ever made. So I figured I'd take a look back at some of the worst examples of our wonderfully bizarre species and see if the franchise is better off without them.
My face is my warrant.
So hit like on the video if you find human characters annoying, and I'll start with the most annoying character from all the way back in the Marvel comics, and that's Donnie Finkleberg. This guy was a floundering comic book artist who'd come up with superheroes like Potato Salad Man and put him in comics like This Man, This Mayonnaise. So obviously he was the natural choice for the government looking to explain the existence of giant war robots to a panicking human population. And what was the plan that he came up with? Well, he figured that the notion of robots being controlled by a supervillain was less scary than the actual truth. So he came up with this alter ego for himself called Robomaster. He begged Megatron to go along with the charade as a way to get humans to turn on the Autobots, and bizarrely, Megatron agreed, which was kind of crazy because this dude would frequently bitch about food and stuff to Megs and even struck matches on his chassis to light his cigarettes. He eventually realized he was way out of his depth and defected to the Autobots. He befriended Skids, but pretty quickly sold him out to the government for 50 grand, who I'm pretty sure mounted his head on this wall with Warpath, like I spoke about in my last vid. Anyway, this guy is a constantly grumbling asshole who complained about food all the time, lived in an apartment with just a sofa, a TV, and a painting of a naked woman on the wall. This guy was a spineless, morally dubious, opportunistic loser who did try to claw back some karma points by donating all the money he'd made to charity, but it was too little too late. I hate this guy.
So I'm going to have a party.
Gen 1 had quite a few annoying ones, but let's start with Astoria Carlton-Ritz. This rich heiress was bored with all her money, got kidnapped by the cons, got saved by Powerglide, and developed a kind of infatuation for him.
Oh, I want to go flying again.
Come on.
Yeah, I wonder if go flying is some kind of euphemism. Oh, Powerglide, send me soaring through the skies again. She'd nag him into getting her own way, even get kind of grabby once in a while. Generally just a real brat.
Don't you touch my necklace.
When her mind was probed by the cons, the probe machine found that her mind was completely empty.
You stupid.
She wasn't without redeeming qualities though, caring enough about Powerglide to bandage him up, although I'm not sure what good that's going to do, and she did sacrifice her precious necklace to help bring down the cons' airbase. Now overall, this one is annoying, but in a kind of an innocent way, and she does show that she cares about Powerglide in a pretty big way, in a pretty unselfish way, so she's one of the better ones on this list. Burger by name, burger by nature, and yeah, I don't really know what that means either, but this guy's name was Patrick Burger or Patrick Swayze Burger, I don't know. The point is I like burgers. But this guy ran for an election and lost before almost drowning in a pool of his own liquid hate, before being plucked out of it like a wet Kleenex by Megatron. And the two made a deal to turn human sentiment against the Autobots, and this guy made a video that made it look like the Autobots were thieving scumbags. And it actually worked. This guy actually managed to get humans to hate the Autobots to the point that many of them wanted the bots exiled and kicked off of the planet. Bye-bye. And the Autobots nearly all died when their ship almost flew into a star. His own stupidity and arrogance would be his downfall, however, when he didn't see Megatron's double cross coming a mile off, and he actually thought that Megatron would make him an equal ally. Nope.
Cradle me, Megsy.
What's the problem if this meteorite is moving towards Cybertron?
Did he say Cyberton? Daniel Witwicky makes the list, unfortunately. Not so much for the original seasons of the show, but for his portrayal in The Headmasters, where he made a series of very juvenile and emotional decisions that weren't thought through in the least, often putting himself and those around him in harm's way. What's more annoying to me, though, is that the adults around him who are supposed to say, no, Daniel, you're a kid, go play some video games or something, they're like, yeah, sure, here's a spacesuit, go rescue the world from a giant meteor. As soon as this kid switches on the waterworks, everyone just folds and, I want to play with that gun! Yeah, sure, let me take the safety off for you. Carly, for example, Daniel's mother, was a student at MIT in Gen 1. She should have been able to recognize a stupid idea when she saw one, but I guess the horrors of seeing a planet-sized robot almost devour Earth must have made her a little, I've boiled your hamster, he's nice and clean now. She's really just a housewife in this. Also, I don't know if this is the official dub, but the voice acting doesn't help. It's pretty awful.
Quick, get up before the lava drowns us!
That makes the character seem even more annoying. Oh, you want the code to the airlock? Yeah, sure, 73249. No worries. Are you going to open it now while we're all standing here? Well, as long as you have fun. It's funny how the Witwicky lineage goes throughout this show. We start off with Sparkplug, who's actually very useful with his engineering skills, to his son Spike, who's kind of okay, to his son Daniel, who starts off kind of okay, but by the end of the Headmasters, many people find quite annoying. A similar trajectory could be applied to Sam Witwicky of the Bayverse, who many complain that he becomes more snide and a bit catty and winchy.
hope you feel bad. You should feel bad. Look at the jalopy I'm driving now. I feel bad every single day.
I think it's because he was meant to have grown at this stage and become more confident, but I see how people think that it doesn't really work. Because it ends up feeling like he's just kind of bossing people around and trying to throw his weight around.
Why don't you get a little dipping tray and dip the dog in a Pepto? That's a solution.
Add on to that the fact that he's totally insecure and a little paranoid because he's constantly thinking about how everyone's trying to get in the pants of the fucking supermodel that he somehow ended up with.
It's the smiling back part that gets me.
It's not a good mix. Again, not something that massively bothered me about Dark of the Moon. This was definitely a movie that was brought down a couple of notches by the terrible human characters. Not all of them were terrible. Dutch was great. Wang made me laugh. But it's a real shame because otherwise this was a pretty good movie. Oh, just a quick mention that Gamer Sups are launching a one-off Eshi-sama collection Friday 9th of August. Waifu cups, t-shirts, all sorts of stuff. And you can get 10% off of Gamer Sups using my discount code NORMZONE. Okay?
Sweet.
A lot of people seem to dislike Miko, I think because of her impulsiveness, which is probably f***ing ADHD. Which saw her throwing herself into situations without the remotest thought for the consequences, even though the stakes were often really high and there was a lot to lose. But I always kind of liked Miko and never really had any problems with her. To me, she added a little flavor when the other human characters were a little beige, you know, apart from Fowler, of course. And she even killed Hardshell, didn't she?
I'm an inventor.
Now, there's a lot of love for Cade out there, and with good reason. He's fucking Marky Mark. He's a legend.
Yeah.
But this character is a bit of a mess, isn't he? Starts out pretty cool. A pretty likable down-on-his-luck inventor. Although he did threaten to kill these two who were actually just admiring his house, whose life hadn't gone the way he'd hoped. So at this stage, definitely a character we can all get behind. But over the course of these two movies, he just gets more and more preposterous. He's got these moments of being kind of just a dick.
You see that? Look at me. We're off the ship, right?
Eventually becomes a kind of save-us-all chosen one, wrapped up in so much plot armor, I'm surprised he can even breathe. Just didn't develop in any kind of likable way. Plus, it's weird to say this, but his chemistry with the boss didn't really work somehow. For me, even though Sam was getting kind of annoying, this was a step back. Shane from Age of Extinction was a character that made me close my eyes and shove my fingers in my ears every time he appeared on the screen. Unlikable, unrelatable, and one of the worst parts in all of Transformers history. Nothing against the actor, but this guy was so poorly written and so utterly pointless. Not to mention stopping the whole entire plot to explain the Romeo and Juliet lore, which he printed out and had laminated. Sake. Who the hell thought that that was a good idea to put this into a real actual movie that people would watch? I guess they realized how unpopular he was, because he didn't get a single mention in Last Night. It's implied that he and Cade's daughter Tessa broke up because he says he's worried about who she might be dating, but it sounds like even she kicked him to the curb. Been looking for people talking positively about this guy online? There ain't many. Someone was talking about how Shane mentioned that he didn't feel like he was in control of the car he was driving, implying that it was a Transformer.
Man, I don't know how I'm driving this good. It's like today I've gone to a whole other level.
And it was the poster's theory that Shane would have become its headmaster, mixing Shane's mad driving skills while the bot would concentrate on targeting enemies. If that would be true, then the character was gutted and had all of the best stuff taken away from him. And that's why he feels so redundant and pointless. I think it's just bad writing personally. But nice theory. Alright, if you've been following Transformers for a while, you probably already know who the worst is. But before we get on to the worst, let's talk real quick about some of the best.
Everything is gonna be all right, you guys.
The way cooler than Armageddon guy was amazing.
I swear to God.
I really liked Verity Carlo from IDW. As far as humans and Transformers go, she had a few layers. Dealing with a broken family, I don't know, she just came across as really real somehow. And the way she bonded with the Wreckers somehow felt a lot more genuine than, say, Cade's relationship with his Autobots.
What? No.
Which seemed super forced.
No.
And the fact that the Wreckers even let her join their crew showed just how hardcore she was. And Alexis is often spoken about as the most likable character in all of Transformers ever. She didn't make decisions that were as dumb as shit on a turnip, and her role in Starscream's arc made you really feel for her. And him. Agent Fowler was absolute fucking boss in Prime. Just check out that jawline. This guy's about as manly as they come. Charlie Watson was pretty relatable too. She's one of the few that I'd be happy to see more of in future, even if it's just a cameo to see where she wound up. The ones that I think should definitely be brought back, or given their own little story somewhere, would be Epps and Lennox, who were equally likable, but also pretty effective, managing to overcome their obvious squishy shortcomings without having to be absolutely soaked in overly convenient plot armor. In fact, if we are doing a G.I. Joe crossover next, make it revolve around them. They'd be a logical choice to be a part of it. And that way you can find some interesting ways of bringing all these story strands together. Alright, time for the worst.
This is Earth.
my planet. I decide what I do and nobody else. You got that?
But the absolute worst character in all of Transformers has to be Kicker Jones from Energon. In his early years, he was dragged around the cosmos by his scientist father until he fell down this huge tunnel, seemingly headed for certain death, until saved by none other than Primus, who gave him the ability to sense Energon. His father took advantage of his gift, often putting his son in jeopardy to find the rare ore, something that filled Kicker with a whole bunch of issues, namely thinking that his dad cared more about the Energon than he did about him. He'd get older, relocate to Ocean City, and eventually team up with Ironhide, and got this special suit that would allow him to fight alongside the Autobots against the Decepticons. But even when you consider his more than difficult upbringing, it's hard to make excuses for the way he would have these insane, over-the-top, irrational overreactions to things.
Don't you realize it's all over for you?
He would resist any orders he was given for no good reason, whether they be from Optimus or his dad or whoever. He basically simply didn't like authority. It would be a little better when it came to this over time though. For example, when he wanted to go in headfirst and rescue some miners, but Optimus told him to hold back, he actually listened and did what he was told. In the first step, he surfaced Autobot City from its hiding place under the ocean just so he could go out and ride his motorbike. And then he yelled at Hotshot for not re-submerging it quick enough.
Listen, you gotta submerge the city and make it quick.
Hotshot was like, bruh, you brought the thing to the surface in the first place. Later, he abandoned Ironhide at the first chance he got just because flying around with Jetfire was more exciting than having to put up with the green newbie rookie bot. He just always seemed ungrateful, dissatisfied, or resentful, and would frequently lash out at his teammates. On top of all of that, he never seemed to learn from the whole truckload of mistakes he made. He did have a few redeeming features, but nowhere near enough to balance out all of the negatives. Alright you guys, let's leave that one there for now. Let me know if you think human characters should be exercised from Transformers movies forever, or if you think that they can work if well written and better integrated. After making this video, I think my opinion is the latter. I'm currently working my ass off on a few Spotlight vids. I've got all the shady deeds of Prowl coming up. I've got a video about Starscream and an epic vid about Megatron in the works. So make sure you're subscribed for all of that. And if you just can't wait for all of that, you can also check out Warpath vs. Brawl in the membership section and a few other bits and bobs in there too. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Cheerio, bye!